is a living lab for the future. People come here from all over the world and exchange their research and ideas. Yes and is a way to share their inspiring stories so that we can build a more awakened world together.
Welcome to our new episode of Yes and today with us is Daisy Campbell, a very wonderful woman that I've known since she was a girl, when she was 16, and she is a very famous director in the counterculture of the UK.
Yes.
Did I say it correctly?
You said it perfectly. And you'll have to forgive my voice. I've been doing a lot of shouting. I am a shouting director. I was trained by my dad. I don't know any other way to do it.
And so who was your dad?
So my dad was an amazing man called Ken Campbell, and it was with him that I first came to Damanhur and met you. And he died 10 years ago. Just a wizard. The most common thing I've heard my whole life is, "Oh my God, your father changed my life." And that's not necessarily people who met him. That might be people who caught one show he did or saw him once on the telly, or he had that effect on people to just change the direction of their lives into a whole new world of humour and different ways of putting connections together and thinking about things. So he was just an extraordinary guy, and it was with him that I first came to Damanhur because he thought it might lead to some good new comedy material.
And it did.
And it did.
Definitely did.
God, he milked it for years. Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And your dad also had something, a motto that I think you're fully endorsing and you're carrying out, that is not impossible.
With just impossibilism.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yes.
And he said if it's not impossible, it's not worth it.
It's not worth bothering. Yes. And the kind of slogan that we are currently working under is, if we knew why we were doing it, we wouldn't be doing it.
I think that's a very beautiful way to think about things, because it really underlines a very profound search for meaning in everything.
Exactly. And that we need to just always be taking that fool's leap over the edge and into the unknown. Yeah.
And so what is the unknown taking you now? You're here at Damanhur. You brought together a group of pilgrims that just gather magically, and they arrived here in a double-decker bus, which is the first time we see here. And last night you offered a wonderful performance that you had rehearsed for a long time.
For 1 hour.
Exactly.
1 hour. Yes. So, wow. It's a story that you could potentially take back to 1978, my conception. Carl Jung had a dream of Liverpool, and it's he sometimes referred to it as his most important dream. And the dream was of a crossing point of a number of cobbled streets on a rainy day in Liverpool. He'd never been to Liverpool. And in the centre of these streets was a magnolia tree, and the message was, Liverpool is the pool of life. So a poet in Liverpool, we're back in 1977 now, a poet in Liverpool decided to find the site of Carl Jung's dream, and he did. And it was about 100 yards from where the Beatles first performed, in the centre point on a manhole cover. And so he phoned my dad and he said, "Ken, I think we better stage a production. There's a derelict building," because Liverpool was full of derelict buildings post-industrial city. And he took over this whole building on the corner of the street, and they staged a show called Illuminatus. And my mother turned up. She'd just been a Bond girl. She was the it woman. She was going to be big. And instead she went and joined the circus with my dad.
Fell in love with your dad.
Fell in love. And played Eris, goddess of chaos and confusion, in this extraordinary 18-hour production, non-stop.
Right.
And I was conceived as a direct result of that production. Eris is my middle name. And those who know me know there is a sudden air of chaos, but I've got better at sort of just being at the centre of it and letting it do its thing. So that's kind of where this story began. And so there are 13 of the pilgrims have come from Liverpool. They've brought the magnolia tree to Damanhur.
Which we will plant very soon, and then for sure send photographs, and it will be our special connection.
Wonderful. But the pilgrimage is even bigger than that. So it's inside Carl Jung's dream, because we are going from the site of his dream to his garden where he had the dream. From the manhole cover to Bollingen Tower in Switzerland. So that's the final point of the pilgrimage. But then there's a pilgrimage within that, which is CERN to CERN.
So the first CERN is spelled with an E at the end, right?
Exactly. And it is the rude man of CERN. And it is an ancient chalk figure. There's two men, and one has an enormous hard-on. We are going from CERN to CERN, the large hard-on to the large hadron.
That's really interesting. Yes.
But
only English allows for this wonderful plays of words.
A little bit of play on words there. But it's all because of a dream that my great dreaming friend has had. And it's also because last year was the 10-year anniversary since my father died. So I did a one-woman show all about growing up with him, which was just utter joy. But I knew that it needed to finish. You see, all my dad's one-man shows, they were extraordinary. They were surreal. They took in quantum physics and farting and bum jokes and
ventriloquism. Ventriloquism also,
and gastromancy, which is sucking spirits up from below through your bum, and wild.
And translating Macbeth into Pidgin English.
Yes,
everything and more.
Mad, because he wanted to teach the world Pidgin English. He was like, "Come on, world! It's about time you had a single language."
And it's not Esperanto.
No Esperanto. No, Pidgin's much more fun, and you can learn it in an afternoon. But anyway, so I did this show about him. He always finished his one-man shows. He always finished them with a kind of, and we will go to the thing, and we will bring on this, and Alberto will come and steal the nothing from CERN, and then the laughing Jesus will erupt. And they always had this kind of revelatory, comic, crazy climax. But he never actually did it. And I thought, right, I'm going to go further, because the thing he used to say to me is, "Oh yeah, well this is how he spoke. Oh yeah, this Czech director used to say to me, 'Oh yes, your daughter will go farther than her father.'" And he loved to say this to me. And he was such an enormous figure. The idea of growing up thinking, I've got to go farther than my father. This is wow. But I thought, okay, well, this is one possible way, is that when my one-woman show finishes with the great comedic mad, and what we have to do is we have to go to CERN, and we have to immanentize the eschaton and reset the world completely, and anyone can come who wants to come with me, just let me know. And then I knew I had to actually do it. And so the reason we're at Damanhur is because this was now all set in place to go to CERN. Then this guy who I really wanted to come with me, a wonderful author from the UK, John Higgs, he's been responsible for a lot of the madness in the countercultural scene. So he said, I'm going to go to CERN, the giant CERN. And I said, all right, well, we'll all start there then, but only if Kate dreams it. So I said to Kate, I need you to have a specific dream. I can't tell you what it is, but if you do dream it, then that's what we'll do.
Oh, kind of an interesting assignment. You got to have a special dream about something. I'm not telling you what, but if you have it, then we'll do it. Okay.
That we do it.
Sounds a little bit like Damanhur.
Yeah,
that kind of assignments that we have.
Yeah? I've gleaned along the way from Damanhur. Yeah. 2 weeks later, she dreams of the only other chalk man in the country, the long man of Wilmington. I said, fine, that'll do. That's fine. You got the wrong chalk man, but that'll do.
But it is a chalk man.
It is a chalk man. But then it turned out that the night after I commissioned her, she dreamed of an enormous hard-on, but she just didn't think it was relevant, so she didn't mention it. So if she just told me that, we'd have got there a lot quicker. Yes. So that was why we started there. And of course, it's the ancient principle coming to the most kind of modern, scientific principle. So that was all set. But what were we going to do at CERN? And then I get another phone call from Kate. I've had a dream of Damanhur. So she knows about Damanhur in a very vague way, because everyone talks about it constantly. I said, yeah, okay. She said, we were dancing with the plants. We were in a kind of amphitheatre type space, okay? And we were learning. They were teaching us this ancient dance language kind of thing. I was like, hang on. Do you know that they have a thing they call the sacred dance? No. Didn't know that at all. And the phrase that they were teaching us was, show us so we can understand. And I awoke with the knowledge that that's what we had to do when we got to CERN. So the next day I was on the phone to you. Yeah. And
we started this adventure.
Anyway, I thought about 5 people would be mad enough to come on this adventure with me. The next thing I know, 69 people want to come. And so I'm booking a double-decker bus and ferries, and the whole thing's become impossible.
So now worthwhile doing it. Yes,
exactly. So it's now worth doing it. Exactly.
This thing of dreams is very interesting. We're noticing also here in Damanhur that more and more people get connected to us and to each other through dreams. Yeah. It is as if the whole world of dreams has been activated differently, and it's really guiding steps of sensitive people. They're willing to listen to their dreams and then act upon them.
Absolutely. And also the dreaming matrices that intersecting the dreams. So in the run up to the pilgrimage, those that wish to have been sharing their dreams every morning on an endless email thread, but extraordinary. And the crossover and the clues that are coming through, it just is mind-boggling.
You were telling me this morning that Jung had his first relevant dream.
So the first dream that Carl Jung can remember took place in an underground temple.
So maybe we have been warping time a little bit, and maybe our temples were that temple.
Have you seeded that into his...
Yes, possibly. Being the place of synchronicity would make perfect sense. Yeah. Well, last question, Daisy. Okay. You've been to the temples like
a few times, but just literally stepped out 5 minutes ago. Yeah.
Is there anything you would like to share about this experience? What you've seen change? What would you like, to say if people were interested in coming but they haven't yet?
It's so interesting. It is so beyond words. It really is. But we came out and there were all these little pieces of seeds floating in the air, and everyone was just trying to pluck the seeds. And Claudia, who I was with, said, it's come on since I was here. And I said, but so have we. And it's such a gauge of where you are. So the difference in my experience, of course, is so much to do with the changes in the temple, but also the changes that have occurred in me since that very first time as a 16-year-old saying, oh yeah, it's quite pretty, yeah, I quite like the way they've done the pretty pictures and the things, to going, oh man, it's every story that's ever been known and ever could be dreamed, and it's it's a map of every, it's like the ultimate trip.
Thank you so much, Daisy. I think that was the perfect last comment. Thank you.